The key arrives 3 days after the funeral, wrapped in tissue paper that still carries the faint scent of my grandmother's lavender soap. My hands shake as I turn it over, reading the address on the attached note. "The cabin is yours now, Emma. He comes with it. Don't be afraid." The cryptic message makes my chest tighten, but I pack anyway. After losing my job and my apartment lease ending, I have nowhere else to go. The drive to the Cascade Mountains takes 4 hours through winding roads that climb higher with each mile. Pine trees press close to the asphalt, their branches creating a canopy that filters the afternoon sunlight into dancing patterns. My grandmother never talked much about this place, only mentioning it in passing as her retreat. Now I understand why she kept it secret. The cabin appears suddenly around a bend, nestled against a backdrop of towering evergreens. It's larger than I expected, with a wraparound porch and windows that catch the golden light. Smoke purls from the stone chimney, which stops me cold. No one should be here. I park beside a black pickup truck I don't recognize and grab my keys like a weapon. The front door stands slightly ajar, and my heart hammers against my ribs. Maybe I should call someone, but my phone shows no signal bars. Typical. "Hello?" My voice cracks as I push the door open. "Is anyone there?" The interior smells like wood smoke and something else, something wild and warm that makes my pulse flutter in an unfamiliar way. A fire crackles in the stone fireplace, casting shadows across leather furniture and hand-woven rugs. Someone has been maintaining this place, keeping it ready. Footsteps echo from the kitchen, slow and deliberate. A man appears in the doorway, and my breath catches in my throat. He's tall and broad-shouldered, with dark hair that looks like he's run his fingers through it, and eyes the color of amber honey. Those eyes seem to see straight through me, cataloging every detail of my face with an intensity that should feel invasive, but somehow doesn't. "Emma." His voice is low, rough around the edges, like he doesn't use it often. "I've been waiting for you." I clutch my keys tighter, taking a step backward. "Who are you? What are you doing in my cabin?" "Your cabin." A small smile tugs at the corner of his mouth, but it doesn't reach those golden eyes. "Yes, it is now. I'm Kieran. I looked after this place for your grandmother. Looked after her too, when she needed it." The way he says it makes something twist in my chest. Grandmother had been so independent, never mentioning needing help from anyone. "She never told me about you. She told me about you." Though, Emma who works too hard and trusts too little. Emma who hasn't been home in 2 years because she's scared of needing people. His gaze softens slightly, but the intensity remains. "She worried about you." Heat rushes to my cheeks. "You don't know anything about me. I know you're running from something. I can smell the fear on you, mixed with exhaustion and grief." He takes a step closer, and I notice he moves with fluid grace, like a predator trying not to spook prey. "I know you haven't eaten today, and you've been driving on 3 hours of sleep." My stomach chooses that moment to growl loudly, betraying me. "How could you possibly know that?" Instead of answering, he nods toward the kitchen. There's stew on the stove, bread in the oven, your grandmother's recipes. He pauses, watching my face. "She asked me to take care of you if anything happened to her." I don't need taking care of. The words come out sharper than I intended. But I'm tired of being seen as fragile. First my ex, then my boss, now this stranger who somehow knows too much about my life. I can manage just fine on my own. Something flickers across his expression, too quick to interpret. "I'm sure you can, but you don't have to." The gentleness in his voice nearly undoes me. I've been holding myself together for weeks, first through grandmother's illness, then the funeral. Then the swift collapse of my carefully ordered life. The last thing I need is kindness from a stranger who looks at me like he can see all my broken pieces. "Why are you really here?" I ask, forcing steadiness into my voice. He's quiet for a long moment, studying my face, When he speaks, his words are careful, measured. Your grandmother and I had an arrangement. I protected this place, kept it safe from things that might threaten it. In return, she gave me somewhere to belong. What kind of things? His jaw tightens almost imperceptibly. The kind that come out at night. The kind that don't respect property lines or family ownership. He moves closer, and I catch that wild scent again, like pine forests and winter air. You're part of this land now, Emma. Whether you understand it or not, you need protection. I want to laugh at the absurdity of it, but something in his tone stops me. There's no jest in his amber eyes. No hint that he's anything but completely serious. Protection from what exactly? From things your grandmother never wanted you to know about. Things she hoped you'd never have to face. His voice drops lower, almost a growl. But her death changed the balance. There are others who've been watching this place, waiting for their chance. A chill runs down my spine that has nothing to do with the mountain air seeping through the windows. Others? Pack wolves who don't recognize your claim to this territory. Rogues who think a human woman can't hold land that's been protected by wolves for 3 generations. He stops just arm's length away, close enough that I have to tilt my head back to meet his gaze. They're wrong, but they'll need convincing. The word wolves hits me like a physical blow. I take another step backward, but the doorframe stops my retreat. Wolves. You're talking about actual wolves, among other things. His eyes seem to catch the firelight, reflecting it back like polished gold. Your grandmother never told you what she was, did she? What this family carries in its bloodline? My mouth goes dry. What are you talking about? The ability to call wolves, to command their loyalty, to walk between the human world and theirs without fear. He watches my face intently, as if gauging my reaction. It's why this land has stayed safe for so long, why the pack accepted her leadership, even though she chose to live as human. I shake my head, rejecting his words even as something deep inside me recognizes their truth. That's impossible. Grandmother was just normal. She baked cookies and knitted scarves and complained about her arthritis. She also could make a grown wolf submit with just a look, could track prey through miles of forest without breaking a sweat, could cull storms when the forest needed rain. His voice softens. She was extraordinary, Emma, and so are you. No. The word comes out as barely a whisper. No, I'm not anything special. I'm just a failed accountant who got fired for questioning the books and can't even keep a houseplant alive. You questioned corruption even when you knew it would cost you your job. You drove 4 hours into unknown territory because a cryptic note told you to trust. You're standing your ground right now, even though everything in your body is telling you to run. He reaches out slowly, telegraphing the movement, and touches my chin with gentle fingers. That's not ordinary, Emma. That's brave. His touch sends electricity through my skin, warm and tingling and completely unfamiliar. I jerk away from it, pressing my back against the doorframe. Don't. He drops his hand immediately, but his eyes remain fixed on my face. I'm not going to hurt you. Everyone says that. The words slip out before I can stop them, carrying more pain than I intended. His expression darkens, and for a moment I catch a glimpse of something dangerous in his golden gaze. Who hurt you? The question comes out rough, edged with barely contained anger. It doesn't matter. I push away from the door, needing distance and space to think. Look, I appreciate whatever arrangement you had with my grandmother, but I don't need a bodyguard. Especially not one who tells stories about wolves and pack territories. It's not a story. He follows as I move toward the window, maintaining that careful predator's distance. Tonight, when the moon rises, you'll hear them calling. They're testing the boundaries, seeing if the new landowner will answer. And if I don't, then they'll assume you're weak. Fair game. His reflection appears in the window beside mine. And I'm struck by how perfectly he seems to fit in this wild place. They'll keep pushing until you prove otherwise or until you break. I turn to face him, crossing my arms over my chest. So what exactly are you proposing? That you stay here and howl at the moon to keep the big bad wolves away? Something like amusement flickers across his features. Something like that. This is insane. I run my hands through my hair, trying to process everything he's told me. Even if I believed you, which I don't, I can't afford to pay someone to play wilderness bodyguard. I'm not asking for payment. Then what do you want? He's quiet for so long I think he won't answer. When he finally speaks, his voice is barely above a whisper. A place to belong, a purpose that matters, someone to protect who actually wants to be protected. The raw honesty in his tone catches me off guard. There's pain there, old and deep, the kind that comes from being unwanted or cast aside. Despite my fear and confusion, I find myself wanting to comfort him. Why me? I ask softly. Why does it matter if I want protection? Because for the first time in a very long time, it does. He meets my eyes, and I see vulnerability there alongside the predatory strength. Your grandmother saw something in me worth saving when no one else did. She gave me a reason to be better than I was. Maybe you can too. The honesty steals my breath. I want to say yes, want to trust this strange man with his golden eyes and gentle touch. But trust is a luxury I can't afford, not after everything that's happened. I need time to think. The words feel inadequate, but they're all I have. He nods slowly. Take all the time you need. I'll be close by if you change your mind. Where will you go? A small smile tugs at his lips. There's a cabin about a mile up the ridge. I've been staying there since your grandmother got sick. He pauses at the door, hand on the frame. The stew will stay warm for a while. You should eat something. After he leaves, the silence feels oppressive. I check all the locks twice, then sit at the kitchen table with a bowl of the promised stew. It's perfect, rich and hearty, and seasoned exactly the way my grandmother used to make it. The bread is still warm from the oven, crusty on the outside and soft within. As I eat, I try to make sense of everything Kieran told me. Pack wolves and territorial disputes sound like something out of a fantasy novel, but his certainty was unshakable. And there had been something about his presence, an intensity that felt distinctly non-human. The sun sets behind the mountains, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. I've always loved this time of day, the peaceful transition between day and night. But tonight feels different. Charged with expectation and possibility. The first howl comes just as full darkness settles over the forest. It's distant but clear, rising and falling in a melody that makes my skin prickle. Another voice joins it, then another, until the night is filled with wild song. My heart begins to race, and I move away from the windows, suddenly very aware of how isolated I am. The howling continues for what feels like hours, sometimes near, sometimes far, but always there. I pace the living room, jumping at every creak and settling sound the old cabin makes. This is ridiculous. I'm letting Kieran's stories get to me, creating fear where none should exist. But when something large brushes against the side of the cabin, I can't pretend anymore. I grab my phone, forgetting about the lack of signal, and nearly cry when I see the empty bars. The sound comes again, deliberate and heavy, like something testing the walls. Then another. From the opposite side of the cabin, they're surrounding me. My breath comes in short gasps as I realize how vulnerable I am. All those locks suddenly seem inadequate against whatever is moving outside in the darkness. The howling grows louder, closer, until it sounds like it's coming from just beyond the windows. That's when I remember what Kieran said about answering the call. I don't know what possesses me to try it. Maybe desperation. Maybe some buried instinct I've never acknowledged. But I open my mouth and let out a sound I've never made before, something between a howl and a scream that comes from deep in my chest. The forest goes instantly, completely silent. For a moment that stretches like an eternity, nothing moves. Then I hear footsteps on the porch, heavy and measured. My heart hammers against my ribs as someone knocks on the front door. Emma, Kieran's voice, calm and reassuring. Open the door. I fumble with the locks, my hands shaking so badly I can barely manage the simple mechanisms. When the door finally swings open, he's standing there in a pool of moonlight, looking completely unruffled despite the chaos of the last few hours. Are you all right? He steps inside without waiting for permission, scanning the room with those sharp golden eyes. There were wolves all around the cabin. I heard them, felt them testing the walls. The words tumble out in a rush. And then I made this sound, and they stopped. You answered the call. There's something like pride in his voice. Your grandmother would be proud. I don't understand what's happening to me. I sink onto the couch, suddenly exhausted. This morning I was just Emma Rodriguez from Portland. Tonight I'm howling at wolves and inheriting mystical properties. None of this makes sense. He settles beside me, careful to maintain space between us. It doesn't have to make sense right away. These things take time to understand, to accept. How do you know so much about it? His jaw tightens slightly. Because I'm not human, Emma. I haven't been for a very long time. The admission hangs between us like a challenge. I should be afraid, should run or scream or demand answers. Instead, I find myself studying his face in the firelight, looking for signs of deception and finding none. What are you then? A wolf who can take human form, what your people call a shifter. He watches my face carefully, ready to retreat if I panic. I was cast out from my original pack for challenging an alpha's cruelty. I've been alone for almost a decade, moving from territory to territory, never staying long enough to belong anywhere. Until you found my grandmother. Until she found me. A soft smile crosses his features. I was half dead from cold and starvation when she discovered me in wolf form near her back porch. She nursed me back to health, gave me purpose again. In return, I swore to protect her and hers. I processed this slowly, turning it over in my mind. And now you want to protect me. I want to try. His voice drops to that rough whisper again. If you'll let me. The vulnerable honesty in his tone undoes something tight in my chest. This powerful, dangerous man is asking for permission to care for me, to put himself between me and whatever threats exist in this wild place. When was the last time anyone asked what I wanted instead of simply taking? What would it mean? Having your protection. It means no one hurts you without going through me first. It means you're never alone unless you choose to be. It means someone finally puts your needs before their own. He pauses, searching my face. It means you matter to someone. The words hit me harder than they should. After months of feeling invisible and disposable, of being treated like an inconvenience by everyone from my ex to my former boss, the idea of mattering to someone feels impossibly precious. What do you get out of it? A reason to stay in one place, a purpose that matters, someone to protect who deserves protection. His golden eyes meet mine steadily. A chance to be more than just a lone wolf with nothing to lose. There's so much pain in those words, years of isolation and rejection. I recognize it because I've been carrying something similar, the weight of never quite fitting anywhere or with anyone. Maybe we're both looking for the same thing, a place to belong. Those wolves tonight, were they really testing me? Yes. They needed to know if you were strong enough to hold this territory, if you carried your grandmother's gift. He leans forward slightly, intensity radiating from him. Your call proved you do. But unmistakably powerful, they'll respect that, for now. For now? There will be other challenges. Not all wolves respond to strength the way they should. Some prefer to test boundaries until they break. His expression darkens. And there are other things in these mountains besides wolves, things that don't respect any law but their own. A chill runs through me. What kind of things? Rogue shifters who've given up their humanity entirely. Creatures that feed on fear and isolation. Things your grandmother kept at bay through sheer force of will. He meets my eyes. Things that will see you as easy prey unless you prove otherwise. The weight of inheritance settles on my shoulders like a heavy cloak. I thought I was just getting a cabin in the woods, a place to hide and heal. Instead, I've inherited responsibility for an entire territory and all the dangers that come with it. I don't know how to do this. The admission comes out smaller than I intended. I don't know how to be what this place needs. You don't have to know everything at once. His voice gentles. Your grandmother didn't understand her gift fully until she was older than you are now. It takes time to grow into power like that. Will you teach me? The question surprises us, both. I see hope flicker across his features before he schools his expression back to careful neutrality. If you want me to. I do. The certainty in my own voice surprises me. I can't do this alone, and you're the only one who understands what I'm facing. It won't be easy. Learning to use your gift, dealing with pack politics, standing your ground against things that see you as weakness to exploit. He watches my face intently. Are you sure you're ready for that? I think about my old life, the safe routine that left me feeling empty and invisible. Then I think about tonight, about the power I felt when I answered the wolf's call, the electric thrill of Kieran's touch, the possibility of mattering to someone. I'm ready. He nods slowly, something like relief crossing his features. Then we start tomorrow. Tonight, you should rest. It's been a long day, and tomorrow will be longer. Where will you be? Close by. There are still wolves in the area, and they'll want to test your boundaries again before they fully accept your authority. He stands, moving with that fluid grace. I'll make sure they don't get the chance. Kieran. I catch his arm as he passes, feeling the warm strength of muscle beneath his shirt. Thank you. For tonight, for staying, for everything. His eyes drop to where my fingers rest on his arm, and I feel him tense slightly, but he doesn't pull away. You don't need to thank me for doing what's right. Maybe not, but I want to anyway. He covers my hand with his, just for a moment. Just long enough for me to feel the calloused warmth of his palm. Then he steps back, putting careful distance between us. Get some sleep, Emma. Tomorrow we begin your real education. After he leaves, I lock the door and check the windows one more time, but the fear from earlier is gone, replaced by something I haven't felt in a very long time, anticipation. Tomorrow will bring new challenges. New fears to face and overcome, but I won't be facing them alone. For the first time since my grandmother's death, I feel like I might actually belong somewhere. I fall asleep to the distant sound of wolves calling across the mountains, and somehow it no longer sounds like a threat. It sounds like a welcome home. The next morning arrives with pale sunlight filtering through the cabin windows and the scent of coffee brewing in the kitchen. I wake slowly, momentarily disoriented by the unfamiliar surroundings before memory crashes back. The inheritance, Kieran, the wolves in the night. Part of me wants to believe it was all an elaborate dream, but the coffee smell suggests otherwise. I find him standing at the kitchen counter, perfectly at ease in my space. He's changed from yesterday's clothes into worn jeans and a dark sweater that emphasizes the breadth of his shoulders in the morning light. He looks less mysterious and more solidly real, which somehow makes everything more unsettling. Sleep well? He hands me a steaming mug without being asked. Better than expected. I accept the coffee gratefully, noting that he's prepared it exactly how I like it. How did you know I take it with cream and sugar? Your grandmother mentioned it. He leans against the counter, maintaining that careful distance. She talked about you often. The casual intimacy of that knowledge makes my chest tight. What else did she tell you? That you're stubborn as hell when you think you're right. That you'd rather starve than accept help you haven't earned. That you've been hurt by people who should have protected you. His golden eyes find mine. That you're stronger than you know, but haven't had reason to prove it yet. Heat rises in my cheeks. She knew me too well. She loved you, worried about you living alone in that city, working for people who didn't appreciate what they had. His expression softens. She wanted you to find somewhere you belonged. Is that what this is? Her way of forcing me to find a home. Maybe, or maybe she knew you'd need this place as much as it needs you. He sets down his mug and straightens. Ready for your first lesson? I look down at my pajamas and bare feet. Should I change first? Probably. We'll be going into the forest and you'll want sturdy clothes. His gaze travels over me quickly, then away. Meet me on the back porch when you're ready. 20 minutes later, I join him outside, wearing jeans, hiking boots, and my warmest jacket. The morning air is crisp and clean, carrying the scent of pine and damp earth. Kieran has changed too, into boots and a jacket that looks like it's seen serious outdoor use. First lesson is about territory, he begins, leading me toward a trail that winds into the forest. You need to understand the boundaries of what you've inherited, what you're responsible for protecting. How big is it? About 15 square miles. It runs from the creek bed in the south to the ridgeline in the north, from the old logging road in the west to the granite cliffs in the east. He points out landmarks as we walk, his pace easy but purposeful. Your grandmother walked these boundaries monthly, renewing her claim, making sure nothing had moved and that shouldn't be here. And now I need to do the same? Eventually, for now, you need to learn to feel the land, to understand what belongs and what doesn't. He stops beside a massive pine tree, its trunk easily 4 feet across. Close your eyes. I give him a skeptical look. Why? Because you're going to learn to sense with more than just your physical senses. He moves to stand behind me, close enough that I can feel his warmth against my back. Close your eyes, Emma. Trust me. The word trust still makes me tense, but I force myself to comply. With my vision blocked, the forest sounds become more pronounced, wind through the branches, the distant chatter of squirrels, water running somewhere nearby. Good. Now breathe deep and tell me what you smell. Pine, dirt, something green and growing. I pause, concentrating. And something else. Something that doesn't quite fit. What doesn't fit about it? I frown, trying to identify the discordant note in the forest symphony. It's too sharp, too artificial, like chemicals or gasoline. Excellent. His voice carries approval and something else, something tighter. That's the scent of trespassers. Humans who don't belong on this land, who've been here recently enough to leave a trail. My eyes snap open. Trespassers? What kind of trespassers? The kind who scout locations for illegal activities. Poaching. Sometimes drug manufacturing. Occasionally worse. His expression has turned grim. They've been testing the boundaries since your grandmother got too sick to patrol regularly. And you didn't stop them? I'm one wolf against who knows how many humans with guns. I could pick off stragglers, but a direct confrontation would just bring more attention. He starts walking again, following a faint path deeper into the forest. They need to see that the land has a new protector, one who won't tolerate their presence. You want me to confront armed trespassers? My voice pitches higher than intended. I can barely handle confronting my mailman when he delivers to the wrong address. Not confront, claim. He stops beside what looks like an ordinary boulder, but feels somehow significant. Your gift isn't about physical intimidation. It's about projecting authority, making your presence known in ways that bypass rational thought. I don't understand. Instead of explaining, he places his hands on my shoulders, turning me to face the forest. Remember how you felt last night when you answered the wolf's call, that power that rose up from somewhere deep inside you. I nod, remembering the strange certainty that had filled me, the feeling of tapping into something vast and ancient. That's what you need to access now, not the fear or uncertainty, but the power underneath it. His voice drops to barely above a whisper. You are the guardian of this place. These trees, this earth, these creatures are yours to protect. Feel that responsibility. At first, nothing happens. Then, gradually, something shifts inside me. It starts as warmth in my chest, spreading outward until my entire body thrums with energy I don't understand. The forest around me becomes more vivid, more present, I can sense the life in every tree, feel the small creatures moving through the underbrush. Detect the health of the ecosystem like it's part of my own body. And I can feel the wrongness too. The places where foreign scents linger, where the natural order has been disturbed. Now, Kieran murmurs, let them know you're here. I don't consciously decide what to do. The power makes that choice for me, rising up through my throat in a sound that's part howl, part command, part warning. It echoes through the trees, carrying further than my human voice should be able to reach. The response is immediate. Birds take flight from distant trees, small animals scurry for cover, and somewhere, not too far away, I hear human voices raised in alarm and the sound of people crashing through the forest in hasty retreat. The power fades, leaving me gasping and slightly dizzy. Kieran's hands steady me, his touch warm and grounding. "Well done," he says, and the pride in his voice makes something flutter in my chest. That should keep them away for a while. How did I do that? I lean into his support without thinking, too shaken to maintain my usual careful distance. You accessed your birthright, the gift your grandmother's line has carried for generations. His arms tighten around me slightly. How do you feel? I take inventory of my body, expecting exhaustion or pain. Instead, I feel energized, more alive than I have in years. Good. Different, but good. The land recognizes you now. It will be easier to sense disturbances, to know when something doesn't belong. He releases me reluctantly, and I immediately miss his warmth. But it will also make you a target for things that don't want a strong guardian protecting this territory. What kind of things? Before he can answer. But new scent reaches me. This one doesn't smell like chemicals or trespassers. This one smells like violence and hunger and something fundamentally wrong. Kieran goes rigid beside me, his entire body shifting into predatory alertness. We need to go. Now. What is it? Rogue shifter, and it's hunting. He grabs my hand, pulling me back toward the trail. Your power display just announced your location to everything supernatural within miles. Some of them won't be as easily discouraged as human trespassers. We run through the forest, Kieran setting a pace that pushes my limits without leaving me behind. I can hear something crashing through the trees behind us, gaining ground despite our speed. Whatever it is, sounds large and angry and very determined to catch us. Can you shift? I gasp out between breaths. Not without leaving you defenseless, and you can't run fast enough to keep up with a wolf. He veers off the main trail, following a path I can barely see. There's a safe place ahead. We just have to reach it. The sounds behind us grow closer. I risk a glance over my shoulder and immediately wish I hadn't. The thing pursuing us isn't quite wolf and isn't quite human. Stuck somewhere between forms in a way that looks agonizing and unnatural. Its eyes glow with madness and hunger. Don't look back, Kieran orders. Just keep running. The safe place turns out to be a small clearing dominated by a ring of standing stones. They're old, covered with moss and carved symbols I don't recognize, but they radiate power in a way that makes my skin tingle. Inside the circle, Kieran commands, pushing me toward the stones. Quickly, I stumble into the center of the ring just as our pursuer crashes into the clearing. The rogue shifter pulls up short at the edge of the stone circle, pacing back and forth like it's hitting an invisible barrier. What is this place? I whisper. Sacred ground, protected by older magic than either of us understands. Kieran positions himself between me and the circling creature. It can't enter, but it won't leave as long as we're here. So we're trapped. Temporarily. He doesn't take his eyes off the rogue. It will eventually lose interest and move on to easier prey. The creature stalks around the perimeter of the stones, occasionally testing the barrier with a paw or snout. Each time it touches whatever force protects this place, sparks of blue light dance across its fur. The sight should be beautiful. But there's something deeply unsettling about watching this twisted thing probe for weaknesses. What happened to it? I ask softly. Rogue shifters are wolves who've lost their connection to their human side. Sometimes it happens from trauma, sometimes from choosing violence over control too many times. Eventually, they forget how to shift back, forget everything except hunger and rage. His voice carries old pain. It's what every shifter fears becoming. Is that why you were cast out? Because your pack thought you might go rogue? No. His jaw tightens. I was cast out because I challenged an alpha who was already going rogue himself, who used his power to hurt the weak instead of protecting them. The rogue shifter's attention suddenly fixes on me, and I see intelligence flicker in its mad eyes. It begins to pace faster, agitation growing with each circuit of the stones. It senses your power, Kieran says quietly. Rogues are drawn to strong gifts they might be able to steal or corrupt. Can they do that? Not without killing you first. He shifts slightly, muscles coiling with tension, which is exactly what this one is thinking about. As if responding to his words, the creature throws itself against the barrier with renewed fury. The blue sparks intensify, but the invisible wall holds firm. The rogue lets out a howl of frustration that makes my bones ache. How long will it keep trying? Hours, maybe days. Rogues aren't known for their patience, but they're incredibly persistent when they want something. He glances at me sideways. I'm going to have to go out there and deal with it. No. The word comes out sharp and immediate. You said yourself it's dangerous, that rogues kill shifters who challenge them. I'm faster and smarter than that thing, and I have something to fight for now. He starts toward the edge of the circle. Stay inside the stones no matter what happens. I grab his arm before he can cross the barrier. Wait, there has to be another way. Emma, I appreciate the concern, but use my power. The idea forms as I speak it, feeling right in a way I can't explain. You said the land recognizes me now, that I can command respect from wolves. What if I ordered it to leave? He shakes his head. Rogues don't respond to normal pack hierarchy. They've lost the ability to submit to authority. But I'm not normal pack hierarchy, am I? I'm something else, something older. I step closer to the edge of the circle, studying the pacing creature. My grandmother kept things like this away for decades. She must have had a way to deal with them that didn't involve fighting. Kieran considers this, hope and skepticism warring in his expression. It's possible. Your gift is different from standard shifter abilities. More primal. But if it doesn't work, then you fight it. But let me try first. He nods reluctantly. Stay behind me. If this goes wrong, I want to be between you and it. I position myself at his shoulder, drawing on the same power I'd accessed earlier. But this time, instead of projecting a warning or claim, I reach for something deeper. The authority of the land itself. The right to determine what belongs and what doesn't. The rogue stops pacing as I step closer to the barrier, its mad eyes fixing on mine. For a moment, I see past the twisted form to the broken soul underneath. This creature was once someone's packmate, someone's friend or family. Whatever drove it to madness was tragedy, not evil. You don't belong here, I say, my voice carrying power that seems to come from the stones themselves. This is not your territory, not your hunt. Go. The creature snarls, but there's uncertainty in the sound now. I am the guardian of this place, I continue, stepping closer to the edge of the circle. I speak for the land, for the pack, for the natural order you've forgotten. You will leave, now. The rogue shifter whines, a sound caught between animal distress and human anguish. It takes a step backward, then another, its form beginning to shimmer and shift. Go, I repeat, gentling my voice. Find peace somewhere else. Find rest. With a final mournful howl, the creature turns and lopes away into the forest. I watch until it disappears completely, then collapse to my knees as the power drains out of me. Kieran is beside me instantly, gathering me against his chest. That was incredible, and incredibly dangerous. If your command hadn't worked, but it did. I lean into his warmth, letting myself take comfort in his strength. It worked because it was the right thing to do. That creature wasn't evil, just broken. It needed guidance, not violence. Your grandmother would be proud. He strokes my hair with gentle fingers. that kind of compassion, combined with that kind of power, you're going to be an extraordinary guardian. I couldn't have done it without you. I tilt my head back to meet his eyes. Thank you for believing I could. Thank you for proving me right. His gaze drops to my lips for just a moment before he looks away. We should head back. Using that much power twice in one day will have attracted attention from other supernatural creatures in the area. Good attention or bad attention? Both, probably. Word will spread that this territory has a new guardian, one who's strong enough to command rogues and compassionate enough to spare them. He helps me to my feet, his hands lingering on my arms. Some will respect that, others will see it as weakness to exploit. We make our way back to the cabin in comfortable silence, but I'm hyper-aware of his presence beside me. The way he moves with fluid grace, the careful attention he pays to our surroundings, the protective way he positions himself between me and potential threats. When was the last time someone made my safety their priority? What happens now? I ask as we reach the cabin's back porch. Now you rest and recover. Using power like that takes a toll, even if you don't feel it yet. He pauses at the steps, not quite ready to enter my space uninvited. Tomorrow we'll work on control, on learning to access your gift without depleting yourself. Will you stay tonight? The question slips out before I can stop it, revealing more need than I intended. His eyes search my face, looking for something I'm not sure I'm ready to give. If you want me to, I do. The admission comes easier this time. I know I should be independent, should handle this on my own, but you don't have to. He steps closer, close enough that I can see the gold flecks in his amber eyes. Independence is admirable, Emma, but isolation is just fear wearing a prettier mask. The gentle accusation hits closer to home than I'd like. Is that what you think I've been doing? Hiding? I think you've been protecting yourself the only way you knew how. But protection shouldn't mean cutting yourself off from everyone who might care about you. And you care about me? The question comes out smaller than intended. More than I should, probably. More than is wise for either of us. He reaches up to touch my face, his thumb tracing my cheekbone with devastating gentleness. But I can't seem to help myself. The air between us crackles with tension and possibility. I should step back, maintain the careful distance that's kept me safe for so long. Instead, I find myself leaning into his touch. Kieran, I know. It's complicated, and you're not ready, and I should probably keep my feelings to myself. His thumb stills against my skin. But I wanted you to know that someone sees you, Emma. Someone thinks you're worth protecting, worth caring about, worth staying for. The words break something open in my chest. Some wall I've been hiding behind since my last relationship ended in betrayal and disappointment. Kieran isn't promising me forever or demanding more than I can give. He's simply offering truth, honest and uncomplicated. I'm scared, I whisper. Of me? Of this? Of caring about someone again? Of letting someone matter enough to hurt me? I cover his hand with mine, holding it against my face. I'm not good at trust. Then don't trust me yet. Just let me stay. Let me prove that not everyone who says they care is lying. His voice drops to barely above a whisper. Let me earn what I'm asking for. The request is so reasonable, so respectful of my boundaries, that it undoes me completely. When was the last time someone asked to earn my trust instead of demanding it as their right? Okay, I breathe. Stay. He releases me reluctantly, putting careful space between us. I'll take the couch. There's a guest room upstairs. The couch is fine. I'll be able to hear if anything approaches the cabin. He brushes a strand of hair away from my face. Get some sleep. Emma, tomorrow we'll work on making sure you never have to face something like that rogue alone again. Inside, I make us a simple dinner while he builds up the fire against the evening chill. The domestic routine feels strangely natural, like we've been doing this for years instead of days. He moves around my space with easy familiarity, never intruding but always helpful. Tell me about your pack, I say, as we settle at the kitchen table with bowls of soup. The one that cast you out. His expression tightens slightly. What do you want to know? What made you challenge the alpha? It must have been serious if you were willing to risk exile. He's quiet for a long time, staring into his bowl like it might hold answers. When he finally speaks, his voice is carefully controlled. The alpha's name was Marcus. He'd been in power for about 15 years when I joined the pack, and for most of that time, he was exactly what a leader should be: strong, fair, protective of the weak. He pauses, jaw working. But power corrupts, especially when it goes unchallenged for too long. What did he do? Started making demands instead of requests. Punishment became more important than justice. He began treating pack members like possessions instead of family. His hands clench into fists on the table. The final straw was when he decided one of the younger females should be his mate, whether she wanted it or not. Ice forms in my stomach. He forced her? He tried to. I stopped him, challenged him publicly for the right to protect her. His golden eyes meet mine, and I see old rage there, carefully banked but still burning. The pack sided with him, said I was disrupting the natural order, threatening stability for the sake of one individual. So they exiled you. Gave me a choice. Submit to Marcus's authority completely, accept that he had the right to do whatever he wanted to whoever he wanted, or leave forever. His smile is bitter. It wasn't really a choice at all. What happened to the girl? I don't know. I had to leave immediately. Couldn't even say goodbye. Pain flickers across his features. I hope she found a way to escape, but I'll never know for sure. The story explains so much about him. The careful way he asks for permission. The emphasis on my choice in everything. The protective instincts that seem to drive his every action. He's not just offering to guard my body from physical threats. He's promising to protect my autonomy, my right to choose my own path. I'm sorry, I say quietly. That must have been incredibly difficult. It was, but it taught me something important about the difference between strength and power. He looks at me directly. Strength is what you use to protect others. Power is what weak people use to control them. And which do you think I have? Both. The question is which one you'll choose to develop. He reaches across the table to cover my hand with his. I've seen you use both today. You commanded that rogue to leave, but you also chose mercy over violence. You accessed incredible power, but you used it to protect rather than dominate. His faith in me is both thrilling and terrifying. What if I make the wrong choices? What if I become something like your old alpha? You won't. His certainty is absolute. Do you know how I'm sure? I shake my head. Because you're asking the question. People who abuse power never worry about whether they're doing the right thing. They assume their desires justify their actions. He squeezes my hand gently. The fact that you're concerned about becoming corrupted is proof that you won't. After dinner, we settle in the living room with the fire crackling between us. I curl up in the corner of the couch while he takes the opposite end, maintaining that careful distance even as his presence fills the space with warmth and safety. Can I ask you something? I venture. Anything. What did my grandmother see in you? I mean, what made her trust you when you were essentially a stranger? He considers the question seriously. I think she recognized something in me that I'd lost sight of myself. The desire to be useful, to matter to someone. His gaze grows distant. The first time I met her in human form, she looked at me and said, "You're not lost, young man. You're just temporarily misplaced." It was exactly what I needed to hear. She had a gift for that, seeing what people needed and finding a way to give it to them. I pull my knees up to my chest, suddenly missing my grandmother with fierce intensity. I wish she was here to help me figure this out. She is, in a way. Every lesson she taught you, every value she instilled, every moment of love she gave you is still here. He gestures around the cabin. This place is filled with her presence, her wisdom, her strength. You carry all of that inside you now. Tears prick at my eyes. I miss her so much. I know I miss her too. His voice gentles. But she gave us each other, Emma. She knew you'd need someone who understood this world. And she knew I'd need someone worth protecting again. Even in death, she's still taking care of the people she loves. The thought comforts me more than I expected. Maybe this isn't just about inheritance or territory or magical gifts. Maybe it's about family, about creating connections that transcend blood and circumstance. Thank you, I whisper, for everything, for staying, for teaching me, for being patient with my fears. Thank you for letting me. He stands, moving to bank the fire for the night. Get some sleep. Tomorrow we'll work on building your control so you can access your power without exhausting yourself. Kieran, I stop him before he can head for the couch. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad my grandmother found you. His smile is soft and genuine. So am I, Emma. So am I. I fall asleep to the sound of his quiet breathing from the living room below. Feeling safer than I have in years. For the first time since my grandmother's death, I'm not alone with my grief and uncertainty. I have someone who understands, someone who cares, someone who's chosen to stay despite having every reason to keep running. Tomorrow will bring new challenges, I'm sure, but tonight I'm home. The sound of rain against the windows wakes me the next morning. I lie in bed for a moment, listening to the steady patter and the distant rumble of thunder. Storm weather always made my grandmother restless, filled her with energy she could barely contain. Now I think I understand why. I can feel the storm's power calling to something deep inside me, the same gift that let me command wolves and send rogues fleeing. It wants to be used, to stretch and grow and test its limits. The sensation is both exhilarating and slightly overwhelming. Downstairs, I find Kieran standing at the kitchen window, coffee mug in hand, watching the rain with an expression I can't quite read. "Morning," I say, accepting the cup he offers. "You're up early." Storm woke me, could feel it building for hours before it actually hit. He turns to study my face. "You feel it too, don't you? The pull of the weather?" I nod, surprised he understands. It's like it's calling to me. Is that normal? For someone with your gift? Completely normal. Your grandmother could call storms when the forest needed rain, calm them when they threatened to cause damage. He sets down his mug and faces me fully. "Today would be perfect for learning weather work, if you're up for it." Weather work? Learning to partner with natural forces instead of just commanding them. It's more advanced than what we worked on yesterday, but the storm is offering itself as a teaching tool. His eyes gleam with something like excitement. Your power is strongest when it's in harmony with the natural world rather than fighting against it. The idea both thrills and terrifies me. What if I lose control? What if I make the storm worse instead of better? Then I'll help you rein it back in. But I don't think that's going to happen. He moves closer, his presence warm and steadying. Yesterday, you showed incredible instinct for using power responsibly. Today, we build on that foundation. We spend the morning in preparation. Kieran teaches me meditation techniques to help center my energy, breathing exercises to maintain control when power surges through me, and visualization methods for directing natural forces without depleting myself. The key is partnership, he explains as we sit cross-legged on the living room floor. You're not trying to dominate the storm or bend it to your will. You're asking it to work with you, offering your energy to guide its purpose. How do I ask a storm for cooperation? The same way you asked that rogue to leave, with respect, with clear intention, and with the authority of your position as guardian. He closes his eyes, demonstrating the technique. Feel the storm's energy, its desire to cleanse and renew. Then offer your own power as a way to focus that desire constructively. I try to follow his example, reaching out with senses I'm still learning to trust. At first, all I feel is the rain's steady rhythm and the distant rumble of thunder. Then, gradually, I begin to sense something more. The storm's wild joy, its pleasure in releasing pent-up energy, its instinctive drive to nourish the earth below. I can feel it, I whisper, afraid to break the connection. It's happy. The storm is actually happy. All natural forces have their own form of consciousness. Weather, seasons, tides, they're all alive in their own way, with their own desires and purposes. His voice is soft, careful not to disturb my concentration. That's what makes your gift so special. You don't just command nature, you communicate with it. The connection deepens, and suddenly I can sense the storm's full scope, the cloud formations miles overhead, the pressure systems driving the wind, the electrical energy building toward the next lightning strike. It's vast and powerful and completely beyond human scale. But it recognizes me somehow, accepts my presence in its consciousness. Now, Kieran murmurs, ask it to focus its energy on the drought-stressed areas to the east. Guide it gently, like suggesting a direction to a friend. I reach out with my power, not demanding or commanding, but simply offering. The storm considers my request with something like amusement, then begins to shift. I can feel the wind patterns changing, the rain intensifying over the areas that need water most while easing up over places where the soil is already saturated. The partnership is intoxicating. For the first time in my life, I feel truly useful, truly connected to something larger than myself. The storm and I work together for what feels like hours, directing precipitation where it's needed most, preventing flooding in vulnerable areas, even guiding lightning away from dry timber that could ignite. When I finally open my eyes, the rain has gentled to a light mist, and the thunder has moved off into the distance. I feel energized rather than drained, like the storm's power has somehow recharged my own. That was incredible. I turned to find Kieran watching me with an expression of wonder and something deeper. I've never felt anything like that in my life. You were magnificent. His voice is rough with emotion. I've seen weather workers before, but never anyone with your natural ability. The storm trusted you completely. It felt like dancing, like the most perfect partnership I've ever experienced. I stretch, surprised to realize we've been sitting here for over 3 hours. Is it always like that? With your level of gift? Probably. Most practitioners have to fight for every scrap of cooperation they get from natural forces. For you, it seems to come as naturally as breathing. A new sound reaches us through the settling rain, the rumble of engines coming up the mountain road, multiple vehicles moving fast and with purpose. Kieran goes instantly alert, moving to the window with predatory grace. Expecting company? He asks, though his tone suggests he already knows the answer. No. Should we be worried? Probably. He's already reaching for his jacket. Your weather work just announced your presence to every supernatural creature within 100 miles. Some of them are bound to be curious about the new guardian who can partner with storms. The engines grow louder, closer. Through the mist, I can make out the shapes of 3 large SUVs winding up the narrow road toward the cabin. They move with military precision, like they've done this before. Who are they? I ask, joining him at the window. Pack scouts, most likely, coming to assess whether you're a threat or an opportunity. His jaw tightens. Either way, this is the real test. How you handle this meeting will determine how every supernatural community in the region treats you going forward. The vehicles pull up in front of the cabin, disgorging a dozen figures in dark clothing. Even from a distance, I can tell they're not entirely human. They move with too much coordination, too much awareness of each other and their surroundings. Pack dynamics in action. The leader steps forward, and even through the misty rain, his authority is unmistakable. He's tall and broad-shouldered like Kieran, but where Kieran radiates controlled strength, this man projects dominance and barely leashed aggression. His eyes find mine through the window, and I suppress a shiver at their cold calculation. That's Vincent Ashford, Kieran says quietly, alpha of the Northern Pack. They control most of the territory between here and the Canadian border. Is he friendly? He's practical. If he thinks you're useful, he'll want to make an alliance. If he thinks you're a threat, he'll try to neutralize you. Kieran moves away from the window, positioning himself between me and the door. Whatever happens, don't submit to him. Don't lower your eyes or back down. He needs to see you as an equal, not a subordinate. What if I'm not strong enough to convince him? You are. You commanded a storm, Emma. You partnered with forces of nature that most shifters can barely comprehend. His golden eyes meet mine, fierce with conviction. You are strong enough for this. A sharp knock echoes through the cabin, authoritative and impatient. I take a deep breath, drawing on the same power that let me work with the storm, and go to answer it. Vincent Ashford is even more imposing up close. His dark hair is streaked with silver at the temples, and his pale blue eyes assess me with the cold precision of a predator evaluating prey. Behind him, his pack members arrange themselves in a loose semicircle, blocking any escape route. Emma Rodriguez. His voice is deep and captured, with just enough edge to remind me that he's dangerous. I'm Vincent Ashford, Alpha of the Northern Pack. We need to talk. About what? I don't move aside to let him enter, maintaining control of my own space. About the impressive display of power you just put on. About what your presence means for the balance of supernatural territories in this region. His smile is all teeth. About whether we're going to be friends or enemies. I wasn't aware those were my only options. Something like approval flickers in his pulled eyes. They're not, but they're the most likely ones, and I prefer to establish these things early. He glances past me to where Kieran stands ready for violence. I see you've allied yourself with Marcus's cast-off. Interesting choice. Kieran's exile was his choice, not a reflection of his worth. I keep my voice level, despite the anger building in my chest. And my alliances are my own business. Everything that happens in supernatural territories is my business, Miss Rodriguez. Your grandmother understood that. She kept to her borders, didn't interfere with pack politics, and in return, we left her alone. His gaze sharpens. The question is whether you're as reasonable as she was. That depends on your definition of reasonable. He laughs, a sound with no warmth in it. Fair enough. May we come in? This conversation would be better held in private. I want to refuse. To maintain the barrier of the threshold between us. But I can feel his pack's growing restlessness, their readiness for violence if this meeting goes wrong. Better to control the situation on my own ground than let it escalate out here. You can come in. Your pack stays outside. I don't think so. His tone hardens. I don't go anywhere without backup, especially when meeting an unknown quantity. Then we talk out here in the rain. I cross my arms, projecting calm confidence I don't entirely feel. Your choice. For a moment, the air crackles with tension. Vincent's pack shifts restlessly, reading their alpha's mood and preparing to act on his behalf. Behind me, I can feel Kieran's controlled readiness, his willingness to fight impossible odds if necessary. Then Vincent chuckles, and the tension breaks like a snapped wire. You have steel in you, I'll give you that. He waves his pack back with a casual gesture. Wait by the vehicles. This shouldn't take long. He follows me inside, bringing with him the scent of pine forests and cold mountain air. Up close, his power is even more evident, pressing against my consciousness like a heavy weight. But my own gift rises to meet it, storm energy and earth magic combining to create a barrier he can't quite penetrate. Impressive, he says. Settling into the chair, I indicate with the casual confidence of someone who owns whatever space he occupies. You're stronger than I expected. What did you expect? A traumatized human struggling to understand an inheritance she never asked for. Instead, I find someone who can work weather magic like she was born to it. His pale eyes study my face intently. Your grandmother was powerful, but she was never a weather worker. Where did that gift come from? I don't know. Does it matter? It might. Weather working is incredibly rare, especially at your level of ability. The last practitioner I knew of could barely manage a light shower. He leans forward slightly. Or redirected an entire storm system without breaking a sweat. I had help. I nod toward Kieran, who hasn't moved from his protective position. Yes, Marcus's conscience made flesh. How is the old bastard, by the way? The question is directed at Kieran, casual and cutting. Still alive as far as I know. Kieran's voice is carefully neutral. Still ruling through fear and intimidation. Still effective, in other words. Say what you will about his methods, but his pack is disciplined and prosperous. Vincent's smile is all edges. Unlike certain exiles who've spent the last decade wandering aimlessly through other people's territories, I can feel Kieran's tension spike, but he doesn't rise to the bait. Instead, I lean forward, drawing Vincent's attention back to me. Is there a point to this conversation, or are you just here to be unpleasant? I like that. He settles back in his chair. The point, Miss Rodriguez, is that your little weather-working demonstration has upset the balance of power in this region. Every supernatural community from here to Seattle is suddenly very interested in what you might be capable of. And that's a problem because some of them aren't as reasonable as I am. Some of them will see you as a threat to be eliminated rather than a potential ally. His expression grows serious. Your grandmother survived by keeping a low profile, by making herself useful without becoming too powerful. You've just announced to the world that you're the most magically gifted guardian this territory has seen in generations. The weight of that revelation settles on my shoulders like a stone. So what are you suggesting? Alliance. My pack's protection in exchange for your cooperation with our territorial agreements. You continue to guard your inherited lands, but you coordinate with us on broader supernatural issues. He pauses, watching my reaction. It's a generous offer, considering how vulnerable you currently are. Vulnerable? The word sparks anger in my chest. I just redirected a storm. I commanded a rogue shifter to leave my territory. How exactly am I vulnerable? Because power without backing is just a target painted on your forehead. His voice drops, becoming deadly serious. There are things out there that feed on magical energy, Miss Rodriguez. Ancient predators that see someone like you as an all-you-can-eat buffet. Without pack protection, you'll be dead within a month. The casual certainty in his tone chills me to the bone. And joining your pack would prevent that? It would give you the backing to make enemies think twice about testing you. Pack law, territorial agreements, mutual defense pacts. He spreads his hands. All the civilized structures that keep supernatural communities from descending into chaos. I glance at Kieran, looking for guidance. His expression is carefully neutral, but I can read the warning in his golden eyes. This isn't really an offer. It's a demand dressed up in reasonable language. What would this alliance cost me? Nothing unreasonable. Consultation on decisions that might affect pack territories. Cooperation with our security measures. Perhaps the occasional favor when pack interests align with yours. His smile returns, sharp and predatory. Nothing you wouldn't do anyway as a good neighbor. The words sound reasonable, but there's something underneath them that makes my skin crawl. The same tone my ex-boyfriend used when he wanted to control my schedule, my friends, my choices. Dressed up as protection and concern, but manipulation all the same. I need time to think about it. Time is a luxury you may not have. He stands, straightening his jacket with casual precision. But I'm a reasonable man. You have until the next full moon to decide. After that, I'll assume you're choosing to handle supernatural politics on your own. Is that a threat? It's a timeline. He moves toward the door, pausing to look back at me. One way or another, Miss Rodriguez. You're going to need allies in the supernatural community. I'm offering to be one of them. I'd suggest you consider carefully whether you want me as a friend or an enemy. After he leaves, taking his pack with him in a rumble of powerful engines, I sink onto the couch with shaking hands. The casual menace in his final words has left me cold, despite the warmth of the fire. Well, I say, trying for lightness and failing completely. That was terrifying. Kieran settles beside me, close enough to offer comfort without crowding. He's not wrong about you needing allies. The supernatural community operates on a complex web of relationships and obligations. Trying to go it alone would be incredibly dangerous. But But Vincent Ashford's version of alliance tends to look a lot like subjugation. Ask anyone who's tried to maintain independence while cooperating with his pack. His jaw tightens. He's not as bad as Marcus. But he's cut from the same cloth. Power first, everything else a distant second. So what do? We find you different allies. Better ones. There are other options besides Vincent's pack. Communities that value cooperation over domination. He turns to face me fully. Your weatherworking opened doors that were closed before. Every earth magic practitioner, every natural witch, every guardian of wild places is going to want to meet you now. That could be good or bad. Mostly good, I think. People who work with natural forces tend to understand balance, mutual respect, the importance of consent. His expression softens. They'll see you as a partner, not a resource to be controlled. The idea of finding a community of people like me, people who understand what it means to work with power rather than just wielding it, fills me with hope I didn't know I still had. How do we find them? We start with the local witch covens, the druid circles. The other land guardians. Build relationships one at a time. Prove that you're trustworthy and worth knowing. He reaches over to cover my hand with his. It won't be fast and it won't be easy, but it'll be real, built on mutual respect instead of fear. Will you help me? For as long as you want me to. His fingers intertwine with mine, warm and strong and steadying. This is bigger than just protecting one territory now, Emma. What you can do, the power you're developing, it could change how supernatural communities interact with each other and with the natural world. The weight of that responsibility should terrify me. Instead, it feels like purpose, like the reason I was meant to inherit this place and these gifts. Not just to guard one small patch of forest, but to help create a better way for magical beings to coexist. Then we'd better get started, I say, squeezing his hand. I have a feeling we're going to be very busy. Outside, the storm has completely cleared, leaving behind the clean, sweet scent of rain-washed air. Through the window, I can see sunshine breaking through the clouds, painting everything in gold and green. It feels like a promise, like the world itself is offering hope. For the first time since my grandmother's death, I'm not just surviving. I'm not just hiding from my fears or running from my past. I'm building something new, something better, with someone who sees me not as broken or vulnerable, but as powerful and worthy of partnership. The future is uncertain, full of challenges I can't even imagine yet, but I'm not facing it alone, and that makes all the difference. Thunder rumbles in the distance, and I smile. The storms are calling, and finally, I'm ready to answer.